Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the World Football Summit podcast. I'm your host, Jaime, CMO at World Football Summit. This week, Drew Chaffetz, founder at Love.futbol, spelled F-U-T-B-O-L. If you speak Spanish, you know exactly how to spell football, and you can check them out at lovefutbol.org. As you know, we are big believers in the power of sports to change the world, and Drew is a living example of someone leading a project doing just that. Love.futbol has a very simple mission: create safe places for kids around the world to play their favorite sport. And when they say around the world, they mean it. They have 55 communities in 15 countries. They also work with some of the biggest names around: Citigroup, ESPN, Coca-Cola, Unilever, and these are just to name a few. In the episode, we cover the why behind Love.futbol, what he has learned from working with those brands, and what it takes to be a changemaker. We hope you enjoyed as much as we did. Remember, World Football Summit is just days away. If you haven't done so already, head over to our website and buy your ticket. On September 28th and 29th, the football industry will meet in Sevilla. Nothing else from my side. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and now let's welcome Drew Chaffetz. Okay, hello everybody. Welcome back to another edition of WFS Digest. Today we have the pleasure to have Drew Chaffetz from Love.futbol joining us. I did want to, give you a chance to share with our audience what is Love.futbol very briefly, and then why the world needs it, and why now is the right moment to have this organization.
Perfect, Jaime. Excuse me.
No worries. Whatever. I lived in the US when I was a kid, and I got called Jamie, Jaime, whatever.
Yeah,
so
I'm also Drew,
used to that.
when in certain environments. So.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Jaime, really, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and for this opportunity. I'd love to talk about Love.futbol. We are a nonprofit organization and social enterprise, co-founded in 2006. I'm one of the co-founders and the CEO. And we pride ourselves on having a simple mission, which is to ensure kids have a safe place to play. As the name might suggest, sport, and most specifically global football, is at the heart of what we stand for and believe in. Being that's the global game. So, our why is ensuring kids have that opportunity to have passion in their lives, to play, to gain all the positive benefits that children inherently do through sport. What's important to really share is also our how, which is that we specialize in engaging communities around sports-based projects, so that they have ownership over the project process and then the end asset that they create, this place to play. But because of our methodology, it's something more than that. It's something that the community has deep pride in. It can be a center of community in a variety of ways. It can be a social enterprise that is able to self-sustain and represent the best ideals and powers that sport have. So that's just a quick summary on who we are. In terms of why does the world need us today, I think it's important to look at that from both an opportunity standpoint and a challenges standpoint. From an opportunity standpoint, global football and sport has such an immense power on a global scale. We are connected through the great power of these games. The amount of resources that go into the sport on a professional level and from a business perspective is incredible and always growing. The connectivity that we have is more tangible than it's ever been. Our ability to reach common goals together has never been more facilitated through technology and the influencers that have this global reach. But at the same time, on the challenges side, there's really, growing pressure on children and communities uh, to actually access the game in the first place and to have the game in a healthy way in their lives. And there's a lot of different factors that go into that, from, uh, you know, general poverty in low income parts of the world, mass urbanization, to, the digital world playing a greater role in the lives of children, families and kids feeling less connected to the public sphere. They're not being safe. Environments that the community feels connected to is a major problem. Privatization of public spaces, around the world, and even in places like favelas and slums, where sports spaces are locked up if you don't pay to play. These are all contributing to ultimately the grassroots ability to play. And, we exist as an effort to try and move that in the opposite direction.
It's funny. A couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation with Professor Muhammad Yunus, Nobel Peace Prize winner. And he was speaking just about that, how sport really, because we were talking about how, you have your big industry and you have your professionals and all of that. But at the end of the day, the power of sport to be more than just a business, it's just amazing. So I think it's kind of like the mission that you guys are pursuing, no? And well, at least personally, I want to congratulate you on that, because you have to be brave, and we'll touch upon that a little bit later. But I did want to know, what changed? What happened in your world to say, "Hey, I have to go after this"?
I grew up, fortunately, in a household that really prioritized, I would say, curiosity of our world. My parents loved to travel. By the time I was 12 years old, I had been to 6 continents. And, the other factor that was critical is that I loved soccer. And that was my game growing up, and I gravitated to the ball without ever needing to be asked. And so when I was in places like Tibet or Brazil or Kenya, and I saw kids playing on the streets, that was my game too, and I joined them, and I had the opportunity to connect deeply in a simple way, through a game, with kids had such a different experience than I had in life. But yet at the same time, fundamentally we shared, a passion, and could see that we were actually much more of the same than different. And that idea is deep in the ethos and even brand of Love.futbol, Love.futbol. It's in our name. We're connected globally through our passions, and football being probably the best possible example. And so that's kind of part one of the story. Part two is that I was studying abroad in Barcelona, obviously one of the great football cities of the world. And I had the chance to travel down into Morocco for about 10 days. I was on my own, playing football in the streets with kids and adults, almost every day as I wandered. And I came across this community by total accident. And there are these maze-like streets in Morocco, and this is south in the country. And there were these kids playing a pickup game, maybe 8 kids in total, all under the age of 10. And it was in this back alleyway, and there was just a bit of space, but, kids are playing, they're creative and they will play, they're determined to play. Soccer's this simple, beautiful game that, kids create out of nothing all across the planet. And I saw these kids, and there was a canal, like about a foot across and a bit deep, water canal that they were jumping back and forth over, running straight through the middle of their pitch lengthwise. And, it wasn't a, crazy experience, but at the same time, it did cross a line in my mind uh, where you appreciate kind of that beautiful imperfection of the grassroots game to actually these kids maybe not having a decent place just to play the world's most simple and beloved game. It was actually a little bit dangerous. I was 23 at the time, and I was like, it just planted that question in my head: do kids face challenges to playing football? And
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
had never actually thought of that question before, and that really is what kicked off the beginning of the story of Love Football.
I personally love those stories. I mean, I've always considered football is like a common language for everybody. It doesn't matter what language you speak in terms of speaking, but you can always, play with whoever you want as long as there's a football around. No, so for me that was kind of so powerful, and one of the main reasons I wanted to pursue a career in sports as well. So, I mean, fully aligned with that. And I guess, you guys have projects all over the world, no? So you have Brazil, you have 17, I think, if correct me if I'm wrong. Then but you also have in India, United States. How do you choose where to set up a new project or where to pursue a new opportunity? And are there any common challenges that you find when you go to these different places?
Absolutely. Actually, we've done projects in, I think, about 23 communities across Brazil now, and have some new models that have actually helped us reach over 70 municipalities across the country. And Brazil is certainly one of our uh, core countries of strength. We've got most of our team is actually based out of Brazil. But yes, today we've done projects on 5 different continents and in completely diverse environments. And what do we look for? There's really a few main criteria thematically that help us select locations. And of course, most of our projects are funded by funding partners, most commonly corporate sector partners. But they often have interests as well that we work to align with. But the criteria is really number one and foremost around our mission is the level of need, which very much factors in, what are the existing availability of places to play? What are the conditions of those spaces? How do kids access them? And then other factors such as the social reality. We do target low income communities. What are the local demographics, and poverty levels and other types of challenges. Where access to play in environments that can be challenging can make such a big difference. Where kids don't have other opportunities like to play football, right? Which is one of the most simple,
Yeah.
important opportunities globally. So that's the first. Second, and this is really important, is community partnership potential, both with regard to executing a project and then also sustaining that project. As I mentioned, we really focus on engaging communities and mobilizing them around these projects to actually lead the projects themselves. So, we assess things like local community strengths and skills and resources, through an asset mapping exercise. We, understand the local culture and history. What are the individual and collective leadership potential, both from formal and informal perspectives? What type of experience do they have collaborating around community projects? And ultimately, and this is part of our process, is designing a product with the community that is tailored to their local reality. Both in the immediate term, but with a long-term vision in mind. So that's the second major criteria. Third, construction complexity, making sure that, logistically and from a budget perspective and permitting and bureaucracy, that we're, selecting a location that will be legally sound for a long period of time. We generally don't purchase sports, own. That's not our model. It's more oriented towards, helping create or reclaim and improve upon existing spaces, or creating new ones. But helping improve these spaces, that are already owned, usually by public groups, but sometimes by private as well. So those are the main criteria. And yeah, I mean, as you can imagine, that's a lot of factors. And when you're in,
Yeah,
really,
I was gonna say, yeah. I mean, because you were running through that, so I was like, wow, this is like a
yeah,
business. I mean, you guys obviously are an NGO, but at the end of the day, it's not just picking a spot out of the blue, right? So you really have and I think it's important for the audience to understand there's a true methodology and a process here behind choosing all of these, projects, and also not only a matter of short-term potential, but also long-term potential. How can you make this even better for the entire community, no? And it's not because you have some emotional ties to it. There's also some, let's say, call it rationale behind it. So that's very interesting. Thank you for
absolutely.
that. Now, one of the things that you mentioned in the first criteria is that you work with with big brands and with sponsors and with corporate companies, which I believe is it's important. At the end of the day, that's something that we cannot deny. That they have resources, they have networks, they help amplify the impact that projects like Love Football have, in the world. So, I don't know if you want to mention them or not. I mean, totally up to you. I don't know if there's, but I did want to know, what have you learned from working with them, with these brands? Because in many cases they're multinationals. So we're not talking about, I mean, they're huge corporations. So I don't know if there's any lesson that you have learned from them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, uh, these brands have played a monumental role in our story in helping us not just reach the next community, but grow and mature as an organization. And some examples: Coca-Cola. We've done a lot of projects in Brazil, but then around the world, in Egypt. ESPN. We've done projects in about 10 different countries. Unilever. A handful. Manchester City. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Amazon. We now have a new initiative with Disney and a bunch of other, both international but also domestic companies, and throughout the world, in our core areas of focus, which are mainly the U.S., Mexico, and Brazil. But what have we learned? I think the most important thing, and as I mentioned at the very beginning, Love Football is not just a nonprofit where we have a mentality of a social enterprise. And so what that means is, how do you think about not just the social impact, which is the reason that we exist and our social mission, but how can those benefits that we create from a social perspective be aligned with those commercial benefits that funding partners might have, and in other types of benefits that from a marketing, PR perspective, and otherwise, that strategically can create value for these partners. And so I think along our journey, finding the balance, sometimes, those are kind of, you can envision a Venn diagram between the social impact and the commercial, but we found that there really is, especially with some of our longer standing partners, a way to look at their goals and align them with those of ours, and so that's where we've had some real success, and I think what help our partners can continue to come back is when they see return on investment for them beyond the social impact, with building relationships with communities and key stakeholders that they care about, employee volunteerism. We've done with ESPN offices in close to 10 countries, localizing the brand in a really tangible way, and building goodwill in new markets and with new partners that they care about. And, generally leaving a social legacy, to other things they do with with Coca-Cola, we did, Coca-Cola was their marketing initiative where they would have a big, football tournament, and they wanted to leave something tangible behind. An event is kind of a one-time thing. How do you leave something that lasts? And so we worked with them around those objectives. So that's where we really see an opportunity, is not just thinking about these collaborations as doing social good, which is again our core purpose, but how to do so in a way that's aligned with business objectives.
Nice. Well, wow. I mean, you, Coca-Cola, Amazon, ESPN, Manchester City. I mean, congratulations, because you guys work with top tier brands, not only in sport, but in the world. No, so congratulations for that. And from my understanding, you also collaborate with Qatar's Generation Amazing. I don't know if there's any anecdotes, stories that you can share from that experience.
Yeah, basically with Generation Amazing, they had made investments in what they call the Generation Amazing Community Club model, where they would invest in kind of community sports infrastructure, spaces to play across Asia and the Middle East. They really were focused from a value standpoint on ensuring kids had that type of safe space to play, access to not just healthy play and lifestyle in their life, but educational opportunities that sport can be leveraged to create. And sport is one of the great hooks to engage youth in a wide variety of sport for social development, educational ends and goals, and that there's a whole sector based off of that idea, sport for social development. And so they had made these considerable investments, and they really wanted to harness the communities around these assets that they had created in a way that would enhance the social impact potential, enhance the sustainability potential of these spaces. And so we worked with them to do some of the things I mentioned, perform a deeper analysis of the local reality, do an asset mapping exercise, make recommendations around how these local communities could find a self-sustaining approach to these community assets that were going to really be, harnessed in the strongest way possible by the local community. So for us, this was a little bit. This was actually our second work with them. We had helped them design a sustainability manual around sports spaces prior, and this was taking a next step in a community in the Philippines and in India to actually put that into practice and guide these communities to make the most of these sports spaces. So it was a consulting advisory engagement. So we weren't direct on the ground in these instances, but it was a really excellent project, and we were of course honored to be a part of the 2022 social legacy.
Nice. Well, that's actually very nice. And I'm also thinking, because you guys, I mean, looking at it from let's say a wider view, you have your partners, you have obviously your mission, you have a powerful network. Such programs like this, they open up your network. But one of the things that also stood out when I was looking into Love.futbol was you also have an amazing board of directors and people that are really important in the industry supporting your initiative. So I guess I wanted to understand, was it difficult to convince them, or was there any, what were the reasons that made them believe in the project?
Well, I think that, the Love.futbol resonates with people in different ways. I think some people are really attracted to the simplicity of our mission, ensuring kids have a safe place to play. Ultimately, the business of football, I think, is a part of this grand social phenomenon of global football, right? Kids are playing in the millions across Africa, as are adults, without any, some, of course, aspiring to be a professional footballer, but many know that maybe that boat has sailed. But so there's just this incredible social power of the game globally. Um, However, business is a part of that, and I think that ultimately ensuring kids have a safe place to play is a simple goal, and I think that resonates with some. With others, it's more about the methodology of engaging communities to be agents of their own social change, and seeing how we're creating more than a place to play. I think it really resonates with a lot of people, and that's really what distinguishes our work most, is our approach to sports, youth sports spaces, and sustainable solutions in communities. But I think for a lot of board members, especially ones that have found themselves in the football industry, being a part of a social cause is an opportunity to use your professional experience, strengths, and network to do something positive in the world, and that kind of comes back to that social enterprise theme, right? Is that in the sports space sector, there's this ecosystem of business, sport, and society. And so, once you know the business world of sport, how can you leverage that to actually create social impact from the sport and society side? And I think that's what really excites a lot of our board members.
The way I see it is, well, you're essentially a game changer. And an outlier, in the sense that there's a lot of people that I think believe, as you were saying, resonate with the power of sport, or having the idea that sport can change the world. No, but when you think about it, very few actually go out and do it. So I guess I want to understand with you, what does it take to be a game changer? And especially, and I'm asking because I'm of the belief that a lot of people actually have it in them, but for some reason, they just don't. They don't go out and execute. You can think all day long about this, you can daydream about this, but at the end of the day, you need to go out and do it. No, so yeah, I guess I want to understand, what does it take, and what advice would you give to that person that's actually, hey, I should do something about this?
Yeah, that's a great question, Jaime. And I think what you said in terms of that belief that the change maker is within all of us is really at the core of Love football's thinking and approach to communities. We go to really challenging environments. I mean, from the biggest slum in Asia and floating slum in Lagos to the favelas of Rio and Sao Paulo, and what you find in common is, despite great differences, if you speak to people in a respectful way and give them the opportunity and the space to step up, people will. You will find those people that have it in their heart in every community across the world to, help make this a stronger, healthier, thriving environment for themselves and their kids. And we tap into that energy. That's what we're best at. So I absolutely believe that, a change maker is within all of us. Unfortunately, there are certain environments that, because of the local reality, that can be harder than in others. For me personally, I definitely came from a more privileged background, which allowed me, opportunities that a lot of people don't have to, explore and build, this type of concept for, a period of time. But I think it's important to recognize that, people from every background and every economic status have accomplished the types of things that we have and more. And, so yeah, I mean, I think, we have to model these things. We have to show people that it's possible in these types of environments. And I think that a Love Football Project is a great opportunity to do that for, from all kind of realms, horizontal and vertical of a community, to look at people with potential and believe that they can make a difference. And that's absolutely what we see with our projects every day.
Actually, that ties very well with my next question, because you were talking about leading through example on one hand, I guess, and also believing on the potential that anybody can have, no? So I just wanted to understand, are there any other business or any skills that business leaders need today?
Yeah, of course. I think resilience has to be on the list. It's not easy, one of the things that I think I did uniquely offer is just a deep, deep tie to this mission, and I felt like my whole life had led to this, and um, you know, was really determined. May not have offered all the skills or experience, certainly not, to take this on when I co-founded this at the age of 23. But was able to get past challenges and over time. So I think, resilience and the ability to, view challenges as opportunities, is critical. Second, I think I have to say, and this is something, of course, I'm working on improving every day, but empathy is a really powerful skill and orientation. To be able to look at people's circumstances and maybe they're not being as easygoing or polite or something on an email chain or something like that, but taking a step back and being able to say, hey, like let's keep our eye on the North Star and staying objective. If you're able to do that in a strong way over time, you just create so much more out of what opportunities come your way. And so I think that's a really key one. And yeah, that's actually kind of secondary, is like along that line is the idea of making the most of what you have. And I remember my kind of number one teammate in this effort over the last 15 years, Mano Silva, is our COO. Is a great footballer. And we were playing one time on a smaller grass field, and I passed him a really terrible ball, and we were playing this like controlled trap and shoot game, and I gave him a terrible setup, and he just ran down the ball right along the goal line on the side, stopped the ball with one quick touch on to the in, and then with his left foot, solid shot right into the goal from an incredibly tough angle. And so he just made the most of a tough circumstance. And I think when you can do stuff like that, you're going to give yourself a shot at success.
Yeah, and that kind of reminds me of the story with Maradona's famous goal against England. No, apparently the midfielder, after he scored the goal, he told them, it was like a short pass in the middle of the field, and he told them, well, I mean, with that pass, how could you not score that goal? No, so anyway, you were talking about resilience and about empathy, and I think the world needs a lot of that actually today, not only in sports but in the world in general. So I guess I want to tie that with the next question, which is and I guess you do, but why should people believe that football has that power to change the world?
Yeah, I mean, as I said earlier a bit, football inherently has that power every single day, in every single moment. And I think for a lot of people who've played the game, they feel that inherently, whether it means you're playing and creating, that you're healthier, you feel better, you're connecting with your teammates, you're learning things just by playing. Like I've learned so many lessons. And so I think that, on an individual level, on a community level, and on a global level, and you're talking about the ability, traveling around the world and connecting with people through this medium, this game, we kind of inherently know it has that unique power to tie humanity and improve our lives. So I think for me that's the base to football and the sport is that power. But more tangibly, we've seen the power of sport to change the world over time. And actually, just last month, we inaugurated a project in Chicago, Illinois, with ESPN, and it was commemorating 50 years since the Title IX legislation in the U.S. Equating men's and women's sponsorship dollars toward college sports. And that was a huge milestone in not just equality between men and women in our society, but from a sports perspective, but more broadly, for men and women, it's a stepping stone. And to be 50 years into that, and to get to commemorate that with a partner like ESPN was a really special thing. But you can find examples of that all over the world. I mean, there's women's equal pay in the U.S. with the U.S. Soccer Federation, and the stories of Drogba ending wars temporarily in his home. And so there are these incredible examples. And as I said earlier, if we start thinking about the power that business sports society has together as an ecosystem, especially in the context of the new world that we're in today, we can accomplish things that we've never accomplished before, and that's what's really exciting.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, well, we're in a year of World Cup. Then after that, 2026, the World Cup will go to North America again. So that's nice to see. But I was curious because they have a big focus on sustainability, at the end of the day. So what is the biggest impact in terms of sustainability for organizations like yours?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And sustainability is, it's such a huge term, and it means so many different things.
It's broad.
And so there's a lot of different ways to cut that. I think that, I'm just going to keep mentioning this idea of the social enterprise thinking. And if maybe you're familiar with Michael Porter, who's one of the top, strategists and on, business competition out of Harvard Business School. He is passionate about this term called shared value, right? And that's the same idea that I'm talking about, this alignment between social good and commercial value. And I think that as we've seen with, as I mentioned at Title IX and, Jackie Robinson baseball, helping break down the barrier between, people of color in sport in the United States, sport keeps breaking these barriers. And I think that sport has this unique opportunity to demonstrate the ideals of shared value, right? We've got hundreds of billions of dollars in industry. We've got, Ronaldo and these guys who have got, 50, 100 million followers and just immense influence in ways that have never existed before. There's such an opportunity to leverage events like this to, whether it's leave a social legacy, of course, and that's happened for a long period of time, and in the 1994 World Cup in the US, I was 12 years old. There was a, social legacy, left $50 million to the US Soccer Foundation. They've got a goal to build 1,000 mini pitches across the United States. Like, that's obviously a tangible example of what these events can do. But how can we take that to the next level? And I mean that from the social impact side, but also 1,000 mini pitches across the U.S. and this is a whole nother conversation is so crucial to growing the game. In a country where soccer is not a matured sport fully, so that's why, it can be of value from a business perspective to grow the game and build, even brand equity for the brands that are behind this. to tangibly help kids play. And so for us at Love Football, we've got our eyes on 26 in a huge way, and are excited to try and make the most of it.
Actually, and sorry for keep going back to Professor Yunus, but I mean, some of his messages were fully aligned to what you were saying, no? And when we were speaking with him, he was telling us how, yeah, he recognizes that players like Messi, like Ronaldo, like, superstar players, they have big power. It's really up to them to decide how to use that power. You can use the power to sell more glasses or sell more watches, or you can try to use that power to change the world. No, it's really up to you and how you want to use your platform. No, so yeah, I guess I couldn't agree more with that statement. No, so yeah, thank you for that. And you were also mentioning the 2026 World Cup, and I guess, and this is just my last question: what's next for you guys? What's next for Love Football? Where are you going?
Well, I am an American guy, born and raised in this country, and we're really excited here at Love Football right now to be. We have 7 projects committed across the United States. In Miami, DC, I mentioned Chicago, Detroit, Philadelphia. So that's the big thing this year and next year is taking this big step toward kind of demonstrating how we approach community sports spaces in an innovative way. Not simply creating these spaces, but doing it in a way that are really setting up communities to be not dependent on outside groups in order to continue to sustain and help these spaces thrive. And that's a critical issue, especially 2 years after COVID. A lot of the public landowners out there have struggled historically to reach communities that are lower income and communities of color, which every one of these 7 projects are focused on with ESPN and another partner, the Pincus Family Foundation. So we're really excited to take these lessons that we've learned across the world, apply them to the unique U.S. context, and help these communities take ownership of these places to play in the U.S. and figure out how the football can best offer its value proposition in this unique environment. And that, of course, has to do with 2026 ahead, which, as I mentioned, is just a special, massive opportunity across these 3 nations. Mexico is one of the countries we've done most projects as well. A lot of projects in Mexico City, for example. And so that's one of the biggest things on our horizon. We've also built a major donor program called Starting Squad. It's led by Hernanes, former Brazilian national player.
Yeah.
Lazio,
Yeah.
Juventus.
Nice.
He's a really passionate parceiro of ours, brother. He's all in with us, and it's been an amazing journey to work with a guy of that quality and passion.
He was very good.
He's a special player. Some fun stories I've learned about how focused he was. It's amazing. Yeah. But we're building this program, and it's really about investing in this next era of Love Football. Thinking about investing in things like technology and innovation, in our brand and marketing, and of course, more than anything, in our team. Bringing on the best people we possibly can to take the 70,000 kids that we've reached over the last 15 years and triple that by 2026, which is our goal. Really begin to scale this on another level. And on that note, one of the big pieces of that, and it relates to everything I've said, is engaging a broader global soccer audience around our mission. We have, since our beginning, had crowdfunded projects through peer-to-peer fundraising where, soccer teams and, groups of a variety of individuals, raise money across their personal networks to fund a project abroad. We've had some really cool successes. We really want to scale that idea, scale Love Football's mission beyond ourselves. It's never been about just being this nonprofit that is taking on projects around the world. It's about engaging a global soccer passionate, sports passionate community to take, this effort into their own hands and sure the game for all. So that's what we're all about, and what we will be focusing really hard on in the years to come.
Wow, so sounds like you guys have exciting times ahead, no? So we will be happy to follow along. Hopefully, see you reach all of your goals. Personally, I mean, I love these initiatives, and I want to congratulate you again on the project. Hopefully, you reach all of the goals. And before we leave, I mean, I want to ask if you have any parting thoughts that you want to share with the audience, and also if you want to, where can they find more about you guys? Where can they check you out?
Well, Jaime, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's really an honor to be, associated with World Football Summit, and to be, have the opportunity to be on this platform. I think, obviously a lot of your stakeholders in your community is in the business and sports space. And, I encourage them to learn more about sport for social development, and take some of Michael Porter's words to heart and think about, how can social impact and social good actually be put a little bit closer toward the center of business strategy, and how can that create mutual benefit and a strong ecosystem of business, sport, and society. So I look forward to the opportunity to explore that idea with your community, and for them to reach out to us. We're pretty active on social media, on Instagram, at love, LOVE.futbol. That is our, the Spanish spelling of football. And then at Love Football without the dot, for both Facebook and Twitter, and lovefootball.org is our website. So those are some great ways to learn more about what we do and the projects we're involved in right now, and welcome them to reach out to me as well, Drew at lovefootball.org.
Yeah, and we'll include all of those in the notes of this conversation. So anyway, Drew, thank you so much for joining us. I mean, again, I think our community really likes to learn about these type of initiatives, and I'm sure they're going to enjoy knowing more about Love Football. And hopefully, we'll have you back again soon. Telling us all of your developments. So thank you.
We love that, Jaime. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And there you have him, Drew Chaffetz from Love Football. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and got some value out of it. If that's the case, feel free to reach out on social media and share your feedback. You know where to do so: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. And by the way, remember, we are just days away from World Football Summit Europe. If you want to join us for the event that will shape the future of the football industry, make sure you head over to our website and buy your ticket. We hope to see you in Sevilla on September 28th and 29th, and of course, on the next episode of the World Football Summit podcast. Have a great rest of your day.